sometimes bullying works. Like, sometimes bullying works.
You strike me as the kind of person that's got a visualization board.
She is not the kind of person with a visualization board. Oh yeah, I remember when you quit sugar and became an angry bitch for a while. Yeah. Yes, you did.
New Year's resolutions. Are they worth setting or are they not? I'm Izzy.
And I'm Garcia.
And welcome to Informally Informed. Okay, so, I always set New Year's resolutions. Do you?
I don't necessarily set New Year's resolutions. I set goals that I want to achieve in the year. It's not the same thing, because I use SMART goals. I don't remember what SMART stands for right now.
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic timing.
Yeah. So I do that instead, because what I realised is that if I start doing the New Year's I don't do the New Year's new me thing, because it's the same me. I've not become a different person overnight from the 31st to the 1st. And these are things that are, sometimes they're things that I didn't manage to achieve in the year before. But for the most part, they're achievable goals, things that I'm setting myself up for the year. Because I'm one of those people with a 5-year plan. So that doesn't necessarily mean that every year I'm going to be setting these ridiculous resolutions. I hate the idea of resolutions.
Is it the word? Is it the fact that it's a societal expectation? Because apparently over 50% of people feel pressured into making New Year's resolutions.
But why specifically on New Year's? Because what do they think that, like, it going past midnight is going to do? You've not suddenly become more responsible and accountable.
That's just societal tradition, isn't it?
Society
That's
sucks.
what it is.
So, like...
That's just the way that society... tradition has evolved over time, I guess.
I guess. But it's like when people say, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to get fitter.
So, fitness is the number one New Year's resolution. The second one is finances.
Mm-hmm.
The third one, hang on, I wrote this down. Hang on. Mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is lose weight. And then after that it's improve your diet. And then on the low, and then you've got quit smoking, travel more, drink less, meditate, perform better at your job. But those are like the tallied off ones. So those are like the...
But why wait until January the 1st to start putting these things into play? Why not just do... I mean, all of these things are self-improvement. All of these things are ongoing things. So I guess I find it difficult because usually by like February, March, those resolutions are out the window. They've given up on going to the gym, which they paid for 12 months.
So I also did some research on this.
Oh, go on. Hit me with the research.
Most people
Yeah.
quit their New Year's resolutions in either February or March. Most people get through January. I think it's only like 6% of people on average make it quit in January. Then it's 22% in Feb, 22% in March. And the number of people that make it to the end of the year is like 3%, something like that.
But if they had set
And also,
realistic goals.
the second Friday in January is known as Quitters Day.
Oh, I did not know that.
Because apparently that's where people are like, nah, screw this.
And I mean, I didn't do that research, but I know from seeing people around me, come February and March, all the things that the positive, go get her attitude is going out the window.
6%. So I looked at several studies. Well, I say several studies too. I mean, I'm not made of time, but it is what it is. And they both said that 6% is how many people actually successfully
Quit.
No. How many people successfully succeed in their New Year's resolution all year, make it to the end of the year with their New Year's resolution. And also, fun facts, things that involve taking action are far more likely to succeed than resolutions that are avoidant. So, as an example, taking action would be something like going to the gym. An avoidant action thing would be something like quitting smoking. So things that actually involve getting up and doing stuff are far more likely to succeed than the ones that involve stopping. doing something.
And that makes sense because obviously there's reasons that people smoke. There's loads of reasons people smoke. Sometimes just they want to. But if you haven't got that done the work around it or have the frame of mind in which to actually prolong quit, it's not going to work. It's like with anything. Alcoholics don't just suddenly become not alcoholics because they not had a drink for a day. That's just not the way that the world works. So it has to be achievable goals.
It's addiction is hardwired in your brain for the rest of your life. So for example, they did this experiment with rats.
Oh, the cocaine.
They did with cocaine, yeah. So they injected rats every day, small amounts, obviously, small amounts of cocaine for 7 days, and they built up their tolerance. Like by the end of the 7 days, they were running around like crazy, like you would expect high as a kite rats to act. But it took 7 days to get there. Then they just stopped giving them the cocaine for a year. A year is a long time in the life of a rat. It's practically their entire life, right? And then a year later, they gave them 1 dose of cocaine, and they were running around like crazy, like they'd had 7 days of it the year before. So this kind of proves that when somebody starts smoking or whatever, it doesn't necessarily take 1 cigarette to build up your addiction. It takes a couple of cigarettes, maybe a week, all this kind of stuff. And then once you're addicted, you can then abstain for 50, 60 odd years, or even with alcohol, exactly the same. And then you have 1 drink and you're hooked again.
Back to square one.
And the only reason you're hooked again is because you were an addict previously. So that addiction is hardwired into your brain for the rest of your life, and there's virtually nothing you can do about that. And it's all well and good saying, I quit smoking 10 years ago, I'll have 1 cigarette. That 1 cigarette will eat to 20 a day. Mm. Even if that's not how you started initially. 10 years previously.
Yeah.
You will be on 20 a day the day after. Like, it's literally, it once every now and again isn't enough to feed that addiction if it's been hardwired in your brain from years earlier.
But this is what I'm talking about, like doing the work around it so that you end up in a situation where you can quit and stay quit, because sustain it.
Stay quitted.
Because it's one of those things though. You need to know the reasons why. Why do you need to smoke? Is it the stress that makes you smoke? If that's the case, then should you not find different ways in which to cope with that stress, so that in those moments of weakness, the first thing you go to isn't, what are we talking about, cigarette, cocaine, or alcohol, but all of the above.
Gambling, romance novels, work addictions,
I'm just
porn.
Like, do the work.
There's so many different. So halt. Hunger, anger, loneliness, and tiredness are the 4 things that
force people to make bad decisions again.
Entice, no.
Yeah,
cause people. When you're in one of those 4 states, you have a lower willpower and you're far more likely. That's why people that quit smoking can go all day and then it gets to 8:30 at night and then all of a sudden they want a cigarette. And it's weird because they've had no cravings throughout the entire day. It's like, how does that even possible? It's because they're tired.
Yeah. And I can totally see that. I mean, I guess it's...
Get a little bit off topic, but...
Yeah, I guess it's just making sure that when you're making your goals, that they're realistic to the situation that you're in. That you're not going to sit there in a stressful situation and say, well, I'm going to stop smoking. Because no, you're not. That's how you cope with your stress. So until you find something or a reason, or other ways, healthier ways in which to cope, you're not really going to do that because the situations are still going to come up.
The problem is, when it comes to things like smoking, alcohol and stuff like that, in your stressful down moments, you understand that it's not a good thing. So when you're unhappy or stressed out, you go, I need to quit smoking. But you can't quit smoking because you're stressed out. And when you're in your upper moments, there's no reason that you need to quit smoking because everything's fine and dandy and life's just plodding along. Mm-hmm. It's like this endless circle. You know what? We should just, because this is what we're supposed to be talking about, we should do an episode just on addiction.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like part of it is this. So obviously studies show that after 3 months, it takes like 90 days for things to become a habit, for you to form that habit. If you've given up at the first hurdle, there's no way you're going to get into it. Like people that join the gym and say, I'm going to go 4 or 5 times a week, blah, 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 blah.
Don't join the gym in January because you never find parking space.
Yeah, don't join the gym in January anyway. use the time to think about it. Yeah, because of less people. Use the time to think about it, and so you're not ending up like financially abusing yourself, where people forget to cancel their direct debits. The gyms are profiting and you're not. You're still fat and lonely. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But I said it now. But you're still going through the things that you're going through. Nothing has changed, except now you're losing money for the privilege. I'm just like...
Yeah.
But outside of those things, even like just goals, they need to be realistic. They need to have time frame. You need to set yourself up so that like by this point, this is what I'm going to do. And accountability. Because it's all well and good setting that time frame, but if you're not holding yourself accountable and nobody else is holding you accountable.
The problem is, so...
There are so many problems.
Motivation is very easy to get, very hard to maintain. And that's the main issue. Like people... This idea of a sense of purpose, this idea of moving forwards, the journey. I mean, study after study after study shows that is what brings you happiness. This idea of a sense of purpose, this idea of a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. That's why people set goals, even if they're stupid goals. I mean, things like, I don't know, I'm trying to give a good example. When I'm feeling really productive, like, do you remember when I quit smoking? And I felt like so productive, and it's not even just in my physical body, it was in my mind as well. I'm like, what can I do today? I know I'll tidy the house, and I had a spring clean, right? My life, although my life hasn't really improved because I sprinkled in my house that one time, but it makes you feel like you're doing something productive when you're going through everything. So a lot of people will set goals because it makes them feel like they're doing something, even if they're not really doing anything, even if it's not the best way of doing things, because it makes you feel productive. And there was something else I was going to say in relation to that. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the fear of failure. And a lot of people... We had this conversation
last night. That's why I'm smiling, because we had this conversation last night. Yeah.
So... people, because you said, well, not everybody has to set goals, and I agree, obviously, each to their own, go live your life. But I find it beneficial for me, but I think a lot of people, when asked them, why don't you set goals, will say, because what's the point, because I'm never gonna accomplish them. So I think for a lot of people, it's fear of failure, which will result to lack of self-confidence. So if they do set a goal, subconsciously they've already got it in when I say goal, New Year's resolution, whatever you want to call it, they've already got it in the back of their minds that they're going to fail, so they don't feel too harsh on themselves when they do fail, but it reinforces that belief that they don't have that lack of self-confidence. It reinforces the belief of, well, I'm going to fail, so what's the point? And there's an endless spiral downwards.
But it's this. I agree with I was going to say failure to launch, with the fear of a failure situation, because I do find I set goals. But as I said, I also have a 5-year plan, and the way that I look at it is in terms of a ladder and rungs on that ladder. So for me, the goals that I set within the year that I'm in are just rungs on the ladder, like steps on the ladder to get to the top goal, which is the 5 years. So for me, that's achievable. So even if I fail in 1 year, I roll it over to the next year, knowing that I've still got time to achieve it, but it's still something that I'm going to achieve. I don't beat myself up for failure. And I think that that's the issue. People don't want to... They don't understand. It's the human condition to fail. Trial and error is the human condition.
When it comes to 5-year goals, people tend to people tend to overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can do in a year or 5 years. So people will put things on their 5-year goals and they could quite easily accomplish within a year. Sorry, that's all I wanted to say.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, for me, my big ones are the 5-year goals. And the smaller steps that I need to take to get to the big thing is the steps on the ladder. But I understand that. And there's loads of, models out there for goals. There's loads of models. You just have to find one that works for you. And I guess it comes back down to accountability for me. Because I know what I need to do. I don't always need to involve other people in that. But I also know that, because we were discussing this as well, sometimes bullying works. Like, sometimes bullying works. Like, when I put on an excessive amount of weight, I've had a really terrible back injury, so I have to watch my weight. For a while, I actually put on a lot of weight, and I said to my friends, I need you to bully me so I can lose this weight. And what did they do? Bully me until I lost the weight.
It's just skill and work. Jackie, shout out. And she bullied me endlessly about my smoking. Endlessly. Every time she saw me, she'd be like, what's that I can smell? When was the last time you've had a cigarette? Oh my God. Do you have any idea how disgusting it is? Got to the point where I was like, fuck, I'm working with Jackie. But you know what? I quit.
Mine's a bit more subtle than that.
I quit.
But I bully you in a way.
She went round asking other members of staff, who then snitched on me to Jackie about whether or not I was going out on my lunch break having a cigarette.
I mean,
anyway,
I subtly bully you. I always just comment on the smell.
That doesn't really work, though.
Yeah, I know. I realise that...
Jackie's method actually works. And when I asked you to be harsh on, you were like, yeah, but then you never was.
Because I'm not that way, but I also understand that, like, so I comment. I'll say, well, every time you walk into my house, it smells like an ashtray. Or I come in for 5 minutes, I've just left your house and I smell like an ashtray. But it's not the same way as going, you stink, get it together. But I guess I could be that way if you, yeah. But you've got Jackie now, so good old Jackie. Thank you, Jackie, because you've done us all a solid. And Izzy, because I don't want it to die today. See me tomorrow, but today I don't want it to die. So those things, but I also think that it has to come from within, because people can tell you that you need to do these things and all the rest of it, but you need to know for yourself that because it's you that's there in those moments of weakness. It's you. So you have to want to do it. And there has to be a level of determination.
We should do a full episode on, we should do some research on ways to get motivation, keep motivation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because
me and a couple of my friends are doing accountability sessions now.
Oh, I'm doing this with my cousin. But I also feel like this is part of it. Are you able to self-motivate? What are the things that motivate you? What are the things that make you want to? Because sometimes for me, I rage quit. I do rage quit. Especially when something's really, really annoying me about myself. I rage quit. I'm not doing that anymore because I can't be bothered to have to deal with these emotions. I don't know if that's healthy. That's what therapy's for. But I do know that that's the way that I work. I also know that if I'm going to do something, it's going to be in the morning. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it. There and then. Because if you leave me to it for the rest of the day, I'm going to forget, or things are going to come up, or other stresses are going to happen. So when I need to do something, later never comes. I wake up and I do it. Like cleaning the house. Okay. All right. I know that I obsessively clean my house. Yes, I'm aware. I know that. But I also know that I'm motivated to do it. But in that moment, I'm not only cleaning the house, I'm cleaning the house and I'm doing all the other things I have to do.
But there were some moments where you are a very heavy procrastinator. Some topics? Situated now.
Some situations that I
things.
Put it off. But I know, but depending on how much it's annoyed me, I'm doing it. Like the computer, fixing the computer stuff. I know that my days sometimes are so stressful, but I want it out of the way. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Okay, so let's get back to the topic, New Year's resolutions. Do you think it's a net positive or a net negative for society? Do you think that They're worth doing. They're worth setting. Because I quit. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this. You must do. It was years and years and years ago when I used to have 2 to 3 sugars in my tea.
Oh yeah, I remember when you quit sugar and became an angry bitch for a while. Yeah.
I didn't become an angry bitch.
Yes, you did, because I remember that. I remember when you quit sugar. I remember when you quit everything that was good. Do you remember when you quit everything?
This was last year. I'm talking about when I quit sugar in my tea.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was like 10 years ago.
I still remember that. I remember that because I remember I used to also have sugar in my tea.
And then I quit for Lent.
Yeah, I remember you quitting for Lent as well. When you quit chocolate and everything good and you became grumpy.
No, I just quit that year. I just quit sugar. In my tea, specifically.
Was this when you changed your diet altogether?
I just quit sugar in my tea. All I did was quit sugar in my tea.
No, maybe I don't remember. Go on.
Can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so I quit sugar in my tea. It tasted vile for a week. And then, this was when I was with Stu.
I do remember. I that's what I mean. Yeah. I do.
Anyway, and now I can't have sugar in my tea at all. And that was for Lent. So I understand it's not a New Year's resolution, but they do have its place because they do work upon times. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is change, your taste buds or whatever in that situation.
Yeah.
So they do work.
They work if you want them to. I guess it's whatever situation of goals you want to do.
But willpower alone is not enough because nobody's strong enough.
No.
Nobody's strong enough.
But there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help with these things. So I hope you don't mind me saying, but Izzy has a coach, and I have therapy. So these things help to keep me on track. But I've not always had therapy, but I also always had Izzy to keep me on track. So it's not a matter of just motivating myself. It's a matter of telling people my goals to ensure that I know that. So, because people will randomly ask me, oh, have you done that yet? And I'm like, I'm working on it. Or, no, I forgot about that. It's a level of accountability that you just don't get if you're just thinking of yourself. If you're thinking of it for yourself, as in trying to self-motivate yourself through every single situation. Human beings are just not designed that way. We need outside input, whether we like it or not. And I mostly don't like it. But, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you want to set New Year's resolutions, fine. Just make sure that they're achievable. If you want to set SMART goals, better. Make sure you're accountable. If you just want to breeze through life and let things happen as they wish, save it to the universe, grand risings, etc., etc.
I think that works.
But that's your prerogative if you want to do that. So let us know what it is that you do. How do you do this? I think that you should have accountability, but I also know that not everybody's got friends or people in their lives. Seek it out in other ways. Join an online group.
But this is also working on the assumption that people know what it is they want to achieve.
True, but they don't have to be massive goals. Even if it's something silly like clean your house and change your sheets once a week. I mean, I think it's there was a study done that showed like men change their sheets twice a year. Disgusting. Look at ways in which to make sure, set reminders if you need to. Because I set reminders, because as you know, my memory is dog shit. So I set reminders for everything. Time Tree did not sponsor this, but I use a Time Tree to schedule everything, including phone calls, filming, conversations. I have to schedule them because I forget and I get caught up doing other things. Timing is kind of important, and I mean timing as in timescale. If you've got a real reason that you're wanting to do these things. So for example, I'm learning to drive. Because even though I enjoy being a passenger princess, and I should be for the rest of my days, it's not realistic. So I'm learning to drive. That's a timescale thing. By June, I will have done this. But also, that's rolled on because of other reasons. So I had to stop because I was waiting for a driving instructor. I had an injury that meant that I couldn't do that. Things crop up, but it doesn't mean that the goals disappear.
Yeah. It's the same as anything. It's like getting from destination A to destination B. Like last night when we were driving home from the theatre,
mm-hmm.
we the quickest way back to drop you off to your house, and there was a massive flood in the road, and everyone was turning around and had to leave. So we turned around, went back on the motorway, took the next exit and went round. So getting from A to B doesn't mean there aren't going to be issues in the way, but people do tend to give up.
Jump over that hurdle and keep going.
Or turn around and find a new route because, floods.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that to your car.
If it's going to be something that's beneficial to you in the long run, focus on it and do it. Find a group. Again, meetups did not sponsor us meetups. And you can find people that are also in those same mindsets as you, or better mindsets. Also, I mean, completely kind of off topic, but not really. Who you surround yourself with has there's direct correlation between what you do and who you surround yourself with. Does that make sense? So, for example, I try not to surround myself with people that are unmotivated, unlikely to do anything with their lives, or more likely to sort of curb my motivational
Or talk a big game but don't do anything.
Yeah, because I find that unhelpful for myself and in turn unhelpful for them. I don't like people that suck the life out of me, that drain me. I like people that give me something to work with, that are in a similar, not even, they don't even have to be in a similar position, but they have to want to achieve something.
So, this is something that I've recently done. I think, my coach mentioned it, and then Diary of a CEO, they had a couple of guests on and they mentioned it. If you look through your diary and you look at certain things and you can feel this sense of, oh God, I really have to see this person.
I mentioned this as well.
They're the people that...
Those people that add nothing to your life.
That drain you. Not even people that add nothing to your life. People that drain you.
And we know a few of those people, so I always sit and ask myself these questions because, I mean, we have a friendship episode, so I'm not going to recount that. Go and watch it. But what do these people add to your life? Instead of just draining you, what do they give you? Because if the answer is nothing and it's a one-way street, then you're not in a friendship or any kind of mutual relationship. They're your children.
So anyway, let's stick to the topic, which is New Year's resolutions. I think they're positive for society. I had somebody in work come up to me the other day, and she was like, "Hi, Izzy. Do you have a visualization board for 2025? Because you strike me. You strike me as the kind of person that's got a visualization board." And I was like,
"She is not the kind of person with a visualization board."
And I went, "Do you want to see my goals for next year?" And she went, "Yeah." And I just literally got them out of my bag, turned to the right page and handed them over. It was my stop, start, continue list. Things I'm stopping, things I'm starting, things I'm continuing on that are a good path. And then obviously my goals and stuff at the bottom. And she read it and she was like, "That stop, start, continue is such a good idea. I'm doing it." And I was like, "Yeah, next time I see you, I want to see you stop, start, continue." She's like, "Yeah, I'm down for that."
See, as you know, there's only like 3 or 4 things on my goal list, but those 3 or 4 things are ongoing, very big things, even though they're one sentence, they're quite big. They more pertain to things that I wish to do, as opposed to the things that I wish to do in terms of self, as opposed to action things. So they're ways in which I can better myself, as opposed to action things like go to the gym, anything like that. It's nothing like that.
Oh, going to the gym is a way of bettering yourself.
But it's also an action, in that sense that you have to go do it. This one's is not.
Give me an example. I don't. How do you?
better yourself? Number 1 on my list is being a better friend to you.
That involves action.
Not really. It just involves being.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but not in the. You know what I mean? Why are you being annoying? Okay, I mean it in a sense that it's an ongoing situation that doesn't require me to necessarily do anything. It requires me to be better, as opposed to going to... how can I be a better friend to you, Izzy? No. It's being there when you need me, even though I am, it's in a way
Maybe
that
I'm just
I
taking
think
things too literally, because
you
to
are.
me that involves taking action.
You're annoying. It's nothing like that. It's more like being there emotionally, as opposed to shut up, to taking action. And that requires listening and talking more about like personal things, even though we do anyway. But I mean, like, deep under the surface, not cracking jokes, personal things. And even though, you know what I mean, so it's improving on things we already do, as opposed. What you smoking at?
I'm not smoking anything.
Yeah, it's more along the lines of doing those things, being there. It's not something that I have to actually go out and do. It's being there emotionally for you, opening myself up emotionally as well. You make life so hard. So that's what those are the things that are on my list. It's more of those outside things, outside of myself, but also inside of myself things. My goals this year are not about like losing weight, going to the gym. No, these are
Self-improvement.
Yeah, it's not about that. But in previous years they have been. And also because I mean my last year was a bit derailed, a bit start to stop. It's the first year in life that I've ever really had that. So this year for me is just a do-over, an opportunity to do the things that I couldn't get to do last year, even though in the time that it was last year, we did other things that weren't even on my goal list. Like, we did so much travel last year. Well, I did. Yeah, we did. So much travel last year. That wasn't on my
I completely
list.
forgot that I went to Geneva as well.
Do you see what I mean?
I completely forgot about that until somebody mentioned it. Like, oh, yeah.
Those things weren't on my list, my goal list at all, but they're things that naturally came about. So, because the circumstances changed. So, yeah, you have to be able to also go with the punches. Things are not always going to be smooth sailing. There's going to be snags in the road. Come June, you might get hit by a car and can't move. I mean, I hope you don't get hit by a car and can't move. But
depends on whether they leave positive or negative comments.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
joking.
I'm not even going to go there with the amount of hate that I get in these comment sections. You know who you are. For shame.
So yeah, I actually think a lot of people do New Year's resolutions because they feel like they have to, because they're pressured into it by society. And I don't mean necessarily that it's an intentional thing. I don't mean like me going, yeah, but you need to. Yeah, but you haven't though. Yeah, but why haven't you though? Yeah, but you need to. No, sit down and do it. I'm not talking about that. If somebody says often enough to you, what have you got any New Year's resolutions? As a conversation starter, that is going to make you feel
like you should.
Like you should, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, and peer
whether
pressure
the
is
other
a good
person
thing,
intends it or not.
but peer pressure is also not a good thing. So it's the adage: if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you jump off the bridge?
That's a very extreme example of peer
I don't
pressure.
care. It's the example that I'm using. But yeah, I guess if it's a conversation starter and all the rest of it, but you should do it if you actually want to change.
But a lot of people in work, when I handed them my 2025 goals list, read through and went, that you can do now, that you can do now, that you can do now. Why are you waiting for next week? Why are you waiting for the 1st of January where you can do half of these things now?
Because they don't understand the idea of goals. They don't understand that, yeah, you could have done it, but you need to be in the headspace in which to do it. Yeah, you could do it, but you need to have the motivation there, the drive to do it. Those things are not necessarily you're going to have it tomorrow. But you might need to build up to it.
But again, it all comes down to being able to maintain motivation. And they did the study. The rats.
The rats.
The dopamine.
Oh yes, Diary of a CEO did a lady with who was talking
very,
about
very
dopamine.
good episode.
Very good
You
episode.
need to go and watch it. They chemically engineered rats. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Biologically engineered.
Biologically engineered.
Rats to produce no dopamine, so they'd have no dopamine. And they found that if they put food in the rat's mouth, the rat would eat it. But if they put the food maybe like a body's length away from the rat would just starve to death. Because there was no dopamine, so there was no motivation to do anything. So what I think that the best way of, because people get the dopamine from all sorts of some things. I mean, if we were going to do one on an episode on addiction, we should just do a full episode on addiction. But some people get it from things like that. Some people psychologically feel like if it gets to just after lunch in work and they've just eaten and they're feeling a bit lethargic, that a chocolate bar will perk me up and get me through the afternoon. Chocolate bar won't. The physical contents of a chocolate bar is not enough to perk you up for the rest of the afternoon. It's the dopamine hit that you get that gives you the motivation to crack on with life. But I watched another thing. Chase somebody is a behavioural expert, and he said that you need to provide your own dopamine sources. So little, because if you can get into the habit of getting because everybody has dopamine. It's incorrect to say you can go on a dopamine fast or anything like that. But if you can get into the habit of being your own dopamine source, so little accomplishments that give you that hit of dopamine. The example he used was writing a note in the summer to yourself and putting it in your winter jacket, and then come winter you pull it out and you're like, I wrote this myself 6 months ago and you completely forgotten about it. Little things like that to provide. I think that's a really good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
I mean, I use the same sort of jacket all year round, really.
The
the UK is kind of mild, really, compared to a lot of other places.
The UK weather is shit. But I will absolutely expand more on this when we come to our addiction episode. Because I don't want to say the same things twice. So I will absolutely come to this when we do that.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for an addiction episode.
But yeah, that's my thoughts on goals.
Yeah.
So let me know, what are your thoughts on goals? Have you set any New Year's resolutions or are you sticking to goals? Do you have a 5-year plan?
What's the difference? That's the question. What's the difference between a New Year's resolution and a goal? And a dream? And a plan of action?
Dreams are just dreams without action.
Goals without a plan?
Yep, goals without a plan are dreams. Dreams are fine, I have a dream, but the dream...
I have a dream today.
Actually, Martin Luther King took back his I have a dream speech, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, dreams are nothing. They're just hopes and prayers.
I feel like New Year's resolutions are smaller than goals. New Year's resolutions can be something like go to the gym more, do something like that. Whereas there'll be like one action plan or one thing that you're going to stop doing that doesn't require necessarily much thought into it. Whereas for me, a goal would be like, okay, so in this time next year, I want to have done X, Y, Z with my job. So therefore, if I'm going to hit that by this time next year, then in half the time in June, I need to be at this point. Therefore, in March, I need to be at this point. Therefore, I need to make sure I do these. It involves careful planning and careful consideration.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap up there.
Yeah. Welcome to 2025. Hopefully you've survived it.
We're 3 weeks in at this point.
Yeah, hopefully you survived it so far. And hopefully you can make goals that are achievable, things that you wish to accomplish this year. Go see the world. Go do the things. Just set a plan to go and do it.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our views. That's the point of the conversation. Join in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.